In the heart of Burkina Faso, where the rhythm of resilience beats stronger than ever, a powerful and emotional moment recently unfolded, one that spoke volumes without the need for grandeur or ceremony. Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the leader whose name now echoes across the Sahel, paid a deeply human and dignified visit to the families of fallen soldiers, brave sons of the soil who gave their lives at the front lines in defense of the nation. Clad in his signature camouflage uniform, not as a distant figure of authority, but as a brother in arms, Traoré stepped into the modest homes of these grieving families with humility and empathy. His presence was not accompanied by flashing cameras or political spectacle. Instead, it carried the quiet gravity of a man who understands the true cost of war. With every handshake, every embrace, and every moment of silence, he honored the sacrifice that cannot be measured in medals or ranks. These were not just soldiers. They were fathers, sons, and husbands. And to the captain, they were brothers. Mothers clutched faded photographs. Widows held tightly onto their children, their faces a portrait of both loss and unyielding pride. In each home he entered, Traoré listened, really listened. Not just to words, but to the unspoken pain, the silent strength, and the echoes of sacrifice. He sat down on simple wooden benches, knee to knee with the families, promising not only justice and remembrance but support, both moral and material. His words, though measured, carried the weight of a man determined to steer his country through hardship with compassion and clarity. It wasn't just a visit. It was a statement. A vow that no fallen hero would be forgotten, that their blood spilled in the red dust of the front lines would not be in vain. And it was a message to the people of Burkina Faso that leadership, in its truest form, walks beside the people, not above them. Accompanied by a subtle, haunting background of traditional African string music, the visit left a lasting imprint on all who witnessed it. It wasn't just about mourning, it was about unity. In a country battered by instability and conflict, the sight of their leader bowing his head in solidarity offered a rare moment of collective healing. Captain Ibrahim Traoré's visit reminded us that strength is not only in command, but in compassion, that the legacy of those who fall lives on in how we honor them, not with statues or parades, but with presence, purpose, and the promise to keep fighting for the nation they died to protect. Burkina Faso stands at a crossroads, but with leadership grounded in humanity, its path forward carries hope, not just for a nation, but for an entire continent watching closely. As the convoy slowly rolled through dusty village roads, locals gathered quietly, not out of protocol but out of deep respect. Elderly men stood with hands over their hearts, while children, many too young to understand the full weight of the moment, watched with wide, curious eyes. Traoré greeted each person with the warmth of a neighbor, not the distance of a ruler. It was clear. He wasn't there to be seen. He was there to feel the pain, to carry a piece of the burden that these families now lived with daily. The symbolism of such a visit went beyond political gestures. It was a reflection of a new kind of leadership emerging in Africa, one rooted in sincerity. In each home, he brought not just condolences, but practical reassurance. Financial support for widows, education plans for the children of fallen heroes, and promises of continued engagement, not just for a day but for the long road ahead. He spoke softly but firmly, letting the families know that their suffering had not gone unnoticed. He didn't shy away from the tears. In fact, he welcomed them, understanding that grief is a language all its own. His voice, even when trembling with emotion, carried the strength of a commander and the tenderness of a father. The visit also served as a powerful message to the rest of the military, those still on the battlefield. It told them that their sacrifices mattered, that they were seen and valued beyond the battlefield. In a region where soldiers often feel forgotten after the fight, this moment lit a flame of morale. Social media soon echoed with photos and testimonies, not manufactured by a PR team, but posted by ordinary citizens moved by what they witnessed. One image in particular, Traoré kneeling to pray beside a widow, became a symbol of national unity and respect. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden hue over the villages, the captain's visit drew to a close. But what remained was more than memory. It was momentum. In a time when much of the world sees Africa through the lens of struggle, this moment told a different story. A story of dignity, of rising leadership, of a people refusing to be divided by loss. Captain Ibrahim Traoré didn't just walk into those homes. He walked into the hearts of a nation. And as Burkina Faso continues to face its future, that human connection may prove to be its greatest strength. Long after the motorcade had disappeared beyond the village limits, the atmosphere remained charged with reflection. Elders gathered beneath baobab trees discussing what they had just witnessed, many with tears still fresh in their eyes. For them, this was not just a visit from a leader. It was a moment of national healing. In a region where promises are often made and rarely kept, Traoré's presence felt different. It wasn't scripted. It wasn't political theater. It was a leader stepping out of the halls of power and into the emotional trenches of his people's grief, a gesture that resonated far deeper than any speech ever could. Across the country, the images and videos spread like wildfire. In cities, towns, and remote hamlets, people watched in silence, some with pride, others with quiet sobs. Youth groups shared the footage with captions that spoke of hope, while veterans and active-duty soldiers alike found renewed meaning in their service. Traoré's actions rekindled a national conversation about honor, sacrifice, and unity. In a time when Burkina Faso faces both internal and external pressures, his commitment to those who gave their lives became a powerful reminder that true leadership is measured not by titles, but by service to others. Perhaps most importantly, this visit has reshaped the way many see the future of Burkina Faso. It reminded the people that even in loss there is strength, even in silence there is unity, and even in pain there is purpose. Captain Ibrahim Traoré has ignited something that goes beyond the military or politics. It is a movement of connection, of remembrance, and of rebuilding. His gesture will not erase the sorrow of those families, but it has given them, and the nation, something else, a leader who stands with them, not above them. And in times of turmoil, that alone can be the seed of something lasting. In the days following the visit, the families who were once isolated in their grief began to feel the stirrings of solidarity. Community leaders, religious figures, and civil society groups started organizing support networks, inspired by the captain's example. Small but meaningful initiatives began to appear. Local fundraising efforts for orphaned children, volunteer, programs to assist widows, and remembrance ceremonies across regions. It was as if Traoré's act had awakened a sleeping sense of collective responsibility. In a country worn thin by violence, this new wave of empathy offered something rare, a shared sense of purpose rooted in compassion. The international response was also notable. African commentators and political analysts from across the continent pointed to Traoré's gesture as a benchmark of leadership rooted in authenticity. While global headlines often paint the Sahel in the shadows of crisis, this moment shone with dignity. It showed that amid struggle there are leaders capable of rising with integrity. Journalists described it as a quiet revolution of empathy, where a military leader connected with the people not through declarations of war, but through acts of peace. The images from that day challenged stereotypes and forced the world to reconsider what modern African leadership truly looks like. As time moves forward, the real legacy of this visit will not be just the media coverage or public praise. It will be the shift in national consciousness. Captain Ibrahim Traoré's visit has begun to reframe how Burkinabe people view their heroes, their leadership, and themselves. No longer just passive observers of national events, citizens are now more engaged, more inspired to be part of the story. The captain's footsteps in those humble homes may one day be remembered not just as a gesture of comfort, but as the beginning of a deeper transformation, one where governance, sacrifice, and humanity walk side by side.